There was nothing. The law never went after him or anything like that.
One gets the feeling, and again, you tell me if in any respect you think the movie was not accurate or oversimplified in any way. I'm basing what I'm asking you now on the movie. One gets the sense that Amelia, in the movie, had a feeling of guilt, and indeed the social worker kept saying to her, it's not your fault. And then at the end, the father is compelled to say to her and feels the need to say to her, it was not your fault. Did you feel guilty about it?
At one point, yes.
How old were you? I mean, when you felt a sense of guilt?
When I was younger, when I first told, I thought it was my fault.
Who did you first tell? Your mother?
No, I told a close friend.
Boyfriend, girlfriend?
A girlfriend.
And what did she say?
She helped me get some help to see a counselor, and that was when I was 14.
Can you take us through the process a little, Nancy? What happened then? I mean, remember, when you're telling your story now, there are some youngsters out there who are going to take a great deal of comfort from what you're saying, so you take a little strength from that.
Well, when I was 14, I went to see a counselor, and it was only one session, and I could not continue because I needed parental consent. So at that point, it was stopped. There was only one counseling session. And
can I stop you there for a moment?
Yeah.
What do you mean you need? I mean, if ever there was a subject in which you would think you would not need parental consent to talk to the counselor, incest would be it. Why did you need parental consent?
I don't know. I guess it was the law saying that I needed parental consent.
Okay, so what happened? You were 14, and how long before you were able to get back to the counselor?
I did not go back to a counselor. I waited until I was 16.
What happened during those 2 years at home? Did the advances from was it your natural father or your stepfather?
Stepfather.
Did the advances stop?
No.
So why didn't you go to someone else?
Because I was afraid that I would be rejected again, and that they'd tell me that I would need parental consent again.
Did it ever occur to you to go to your mother?
Yes, but I was afraid to go to my mother for fear that she wouldn't believe me.
Did you ever approach your mother on this, or was it something that only later? How did it finally get resolved in your case?
I went to a friend, and she helped me to get help. And my mother found out through the Department of Social Services.
All right, Nancy and David, we're going to come back to both of you a little later in the broadcast, but just stand by if you would. In a moment, a report on efforts to prevent incest and on dealing with the problem when it occurs. We'll talk with a family of 3 that's had to deal with the sexual abuse of a stepdaughter. And later, we'll be joined by the founder of a nationwide support group for parents involved with child molestation.
If you want high performance from your tape deck, get the high performance tape. Accept. It's worth it. When an alkaline battery goes dead, you throw it away and buy a new one. This is a GE rechargeable. When it goes dead, you recharge it. It costs more than batteries you throw away, but lasts up to 4 years. Used 10 hours a week, this toy would use over 300 long-life batteries to just 2 GE rechargeables. So if you're still throwing away batteries, you're throwing away a lot of money.
If you've been injured in an automobile accident, you're entitled to total compensation for all losses related to the accident, not just the payment of medical bills. To assure that you receive all that you are entitled to, you need an attorney who specializes in personal injury cases. Call me, Sam Spatel. There's no consultation fee, and you pay me nothing unless you win an award.
For a free consultation with an experienced attorney, let Sam do it and receive what's rightfully yours. Call 231-4848.
You can always pick the Serta Perfect Sleeper. She's the one who's awake because she slept great on a Serta Perfect Sleeper mattress. You see, only Serta has the total suspension system, a new dimension of total support and comfort. So make a healthy investment in yourself. Be a Serta Perfect Sleeper.
Save $200 to $600 on all Perfect Sleepers, starting at $89.95 each piece twin size. Sleep World Mattress Discounters, downtown and Kearney Mesa.
Thursday on 2020, Tom Jarrell with one family's heartbreak of not only losing a child to AIDS, but having their Beverly Hills neighbors ostracize his living twin. Plus the green-eyed monster jealousy, the emotion that possesses us all. Watch 2020, Thursday.
Throughout tonight's broadcast of the movie Something About Amelia, many of your local stations provided a number to call in your community for help or counseling on the problem of incest. One facility that offers such aid is the Parents Anonymous Helpline Center in Atlanta, Georgia. You see it behind me there, and a little bit later in this broadcast, we'll be going down to see what kinds of calls are coming in and what kind of advice the folks there are giving. The victims of incest are usually children, and it's hard to deal with the problem without making children aware that it exists. But how do you talk to children about a subject which adults are reluctant to discuss among themselves? Here's a report from Nightline correspondent James Walker about the effort that is being made.
It's 9 a.m. at the Byron Elementary School near San Francisco.
Why don't you give your old Uncle Harry a kiss right here on the cheek?
This skit, put on for 3rd and 4th graders, is about a subject that most of us never studied in school. It's about incest.
Sit back down. We're going to turn the TV set back on. Okay. Now listen, this is our little secret. Do you understand that? You're not going to talk with anyone about this. That's right, like always.
Uncle Harry said, I want you to keep this a secret. Do you think that's a good secret or a bad secret? Bad. Do you have to keep bad secrets? No, not at all. What can Lucy do so that she doesn't have to give Uncle Harry those kisses?
She could tell her Uncle Harry that she doesn't want to give him a kiss.
The reason why they're teaching children about incest is because the experts are finding that it's affecting younger and younger children, that the sexual abuse of children by someone they know, love, and trust is generally beginning between the ages of 6 and 12. 25% of the cases involve sexual relationships between fathers and daughters. Another 25% involve stepfathers. The rest, brothers, uncles, and other male relatives. About 1% of the reported cases involve mothers. Figures are hard to come by, but the American Psychological Association estimates between 12 and 15 million American women have been victims of incest. It's a crime that leaves scars.
Over the years, you just get weighed down by the secret, and you're totally controlled by the secret and the guilt that piles on you.
Cynthia is part of a group of incest victims in San Jose who got together to tell us about their treatment at a program called Adults Molested as Children. Rochelle was 4.5 years old when her father began demanding sexual favors. The abuse continued for 11 years.
The minute the indicators were there, I would just give up. I would just give up and let him do what he had to do, because it would be over someday, I hope.
At age 9, Shannon did not know what was happening when she was molested by her stepfather.
Well, just through school and everything, kids are talking about boys and everything, and yet I was sleeping with my father in 6th grade. And that's when I really realized that this doesn't go on in other households, because I never talked about it before.
Shannon's mother, Anita, found out about the abuse 4 years later.
And I remember one of the options that I thought about that night was to eliminate my husband and the rest of us, because I thought that there would be no way that we could be able to rise above that shame.
So much shame.
Yeah.
But Anita has been able to deal with her shame through programs like this one.
We talk it to death, and pretty soon it doesn't hurt. It doesn't have the same impact. It doesn't hurt as much.
In addition to group therapy, the victims also sit down to talk with molesters.
I am able to express my anger towards their attitudes I can tell them that's a bunch of bullshit, and it was nobody's fault but your own. It's your responsibility, and I don't care what your daughter looks like. She could be a reincarnation of Elizabeth Taylor at her best. I don't give a damn. You're the adult.
And to hear them have the audacity to even describe what they had done to children. And it took all my force not to attack them, because I felt they were subhuman.
This man was one of the molesters who participated in the program. For 6 years, he had sexual relations with his adolescent daughter.
I was denying to myself that I was doing this. I was in a self-destruct pattern. I was drinking a lot. At the time it was happening, I was feeling that I was a very good father. I was talking to my kids and trying to convince them to take self-defense so that they wouldn't be bothered or molested by a stranger. And they really had to look out for me.
Like many other molesters, this man had himself been abused when he was a child. He served 4 months in jail for sexually abusing his daughter.
Is it behind you? All of you? For me, no. 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 And for you?
I don't think it is now. But it will be.
Can I ask, when you say it is not behind you yet, what do you mean?
I haven't really dealt with anything. For yourself.
It seems that the most important part of therapy for this young woman is getting the secret of incest out in the open. That's what most incest victims spend years trying to do. Talk about the secret. Confront the father, the uncle, the trusted person who betrayed them.
What I want to say is that you hurt me. And I loved you very much, Daddy, and you hurt me. You took that away from me. And it was not my fault. And no matter what I get back, it won't matter.
That's right.
When I can do that, I'll throw a party.
This is James Walker for Nightline in San Jose, California.
When we return, we'll talk with the founder of a pilot program in California to help families deal with incest. We'll be joined by 3 members of a family that's fought a long battle with child molestation, and we'll look at some of the efforts to prevent sexual abuse before it happens.
Make your hands soft like your face. Make your moisturizer long-lasting Lubriderm. Make your elbows smooth like your face. Make your moisturizer emollient-rich Lubriderm. Make your legs silky like your face. Make your moisturizer long-lasting Lubriderm. Make your knees soft like your face. Make your moisturizer fast-penetrating Lubriderm. Make your whole body beautiful like your face. Make your moisturizer long-lasting Lubriderm.
Heinz versus the others. Watch what happens when folks are given their choice of ketchups. Hidden cameras record the results. More people choose Heinz. But that's no surprise. Thick, rich Heinz is America's 3-to-1 choice over any other single ketchup. Why?
It tastes the best. It is the best. Heinz. Anything else is average.
Yep, seeing is believing. All across America, thick, rich Heinz wins again.
It certainly is a big bun. It's a very big bun. Big, fluffy bun. It's a very big, fluffy bun.
Where's the beef?
Some hamburger places give you a lot less beef on a lot of bun.
Where's the beef?
At Wendy's, we serve a hamburger we modestly call a single. And Wendy's single has more beef than the Whopper or Big Mac. At Wendy's, you get more beef and less bun.
Hey, where's the beef? I don't think there's anybody back there.
You want something better. You're Wendy's kind of people.
If you know how rich and creamy this tastes, you know how rich and creamy Hills Brothers Cafe Mocha tastes. If you know how rich and creamy this tastes, you know how rich and creamy Hills Brothers Bavarian Mint tastes. These are Hills Brothers flavored coffees. And if you love the spicy taste of cinnamon, now try Cinnamon Mocha. It just might be our richest, creamiest taste ever. But you'll never know until you try. Hills Brothers flavored coffees.
Up here, there's no room for mistakes. Same goes for my income taxes. So I go to H&R Block.
People who know their business go to H&R Block.
My tax guy is on top of everything. He's trained to know every form, every deduction, you name it. He doesn't cost me much, and the guy really earns his money. Hey, leave the construction work to me, and the tax work to Block.
People who know their business go to H&R Block.
I'm David Hartman. Could you give up television for a month? Well, tomorrow we'll hear about a town in Connecticut that's trying. Later this week, Boy George and our salute to Cary Grant on Good Morning America.
When you begin your day before Good Morning America,
wake up with ABC's World News this morning.
The Parents Anonymous Helpline Center in Atlanta, Georgia, opened up their phone lines for counselors and for those who wanted to call in and speak to those counselors at 11 o'clock Eastern Time this evening, at the conclusion of tonight's broadcast of the movie Something About Amelia. Joining us live now from that center is Janet Holman, a professional counselor who coordinates the center's Incest project. Ms. Holman, what kinds of calls have you been getting?
Well, since the airing of the number, our lines have been continuously busy. The one kind of call has been an information and comment on the film. And another kind has been a parent, generally a mother, who has some misgivings or some unconscious feelings that there is a relationship, an unhealthy sexual relationship going on between her husband and her child.
All right, now that kind of thing, forgive me for interrupting you, but that kind of thing was bound to happen, that suspicions would be aroused by a movie like this. What do you tell women who call in with those kinds of concerns?
Well, we encourage them to share more information, and then we're able to confirm her suspicions, begin to let her raise that misgiving, that unconscious level of knowing to a conscious level of awareness. So perhaps at some point she can begin to approach her daughter, or if her daughter chooses to talk with her, she will readily believe what her daughter shares with her.
It seems to me that you have jumped to a conclusion to which I wouldn't necessarily jump, but you're the expert. You almost seem to assume that every one of those concerns, that those suspicions, is justified. Why?
No, I wouldn't say that they would all necessarily be justified. I think that it is the important job of the counselor to ask leading questions and encourage her to share more information. And if she feels that in any way those suspicions are unfounded, then I think she would not encourage further action.
I have a sense that what you're saying, and please correct me if I'm wrong, is a mother, a wife, if it's going on, really knows, and all you as the counselor have to do is to bring her to that self-realization that if a woman has real doubts, I mean, if this is just something off the wall, she probably wouldn't be calling you tonight at all.
That is my suspicion, and our experience in working with families is that often mothers deny it, as the woman in the movie did initially, but as more facts are brought to light, this unconscious level of awareness that something unhealthy is going on in that family does come to where she's able to then verbalize it or acknowledge it.
All right, Janet Holman, we're gonna move away from you right now. When I come back, I hope you can give us kind of some summary of what other kinds of calls have been coming in and maybe a little more of your professional insight. We'll be back with you in a few minutes. Joining us live now from our San Francisco bureau is Dr. Hank Giorretto, a psychologist and director of the Child Sexual Abuse Treatment Program in Santa Clara, California. Dr. Giorretto is a founder of Parents United, a nationwide organization aimed at counseling individuals and families who have had child molesting problems. Can we get a few definitions out of the way? We have been using the word incest perhaps a little carelessly tonight. What does that mean?
Well, usually the definition of incest is sexual activity between blood-related individuals.
And yet we've talked about stepfathers too, right?
Yes, so now a stepfather is a parental figure. And we include stepfathers or even a boyfriend, say, who's been around for a while, in that category. But the important thing to remember as far as the definition of incest or sex abuse is that I, as a therapist, look for it in my client. If that client feels that she's been abused, then I deal with that. You see, it's actually the emotional impact of whatever is done. So that is a different definition than, say, you might get from the courts and the law.
All right. Could it happen between father and son, between mother and daughter? In other words, can it happen within the same sexual group?
Well, you know, as you know, we've treated more cases of incest than any other agency since 1971. And since that time, well, we treated maybe around 15,000 individuals.
How many years is
the
that?
incidents...
Over how many years is that?
That's over, well, almost 14 years. Now, since that time, I would say that the proportion of mothers, say, abusing sons, is around 2 or 3%. Most of the victims are either young girls or little boys who are molested either by fathers or older brothers, older cousins.
How often is the relationship a homosexual relationship?
Well, see, the word homosexual, I think, is inappropriate because the little boys are used as little girls. However, the impact on the victim is of a homosexual nature. In other words, there's a double stigma. He not only feels that he's been exploited sexually, but also that he was invaded in a way that is foreign to him. So he carries that stigma, and sometimes is very suspicious of himself and that he may be a latent homosexual.
I think that a great many viewers tonight are already astonished that the numbers of incest are as high, or believed to be as high, as we have been hearing. What I guess I'm asking you is, how often does that take place on a homosexual level, all right, fine, if you don't like the term, between the same sex? Is that common too?
No, it's still a small percentage. I would say, as a matter of fact, you know, of our clients, we get very few little boys.
Okay.
But the reason I can comment on is that, you know, we also, as part of Parents United, as adults molested as Children United, you've seen some of the people discuss what happened to them. And it turns out that we do have a number of men who were molested as children, but primarily by their fathers. We have right now maybe 2 or 3 among the 40 or 50 that we're treating who were molested by their mothers or aunts.
The immediate reaction that we saw in the movie, and that apparently is a very common immediate reaction of the mother, is, "This can't be true."
That's right.
How often does it happen that a child would make up a story like this?
Oh, that is extremely rare, Ted, extremely rare. There may be some elaboration, and this might happen if the age difference, say, between a stepfather and the victim may not be too great. Let's say a 15-year-old girl with say a 30-year-old stepfather, which sometimes happens. But when a child reports that she has been sexually abused, the chances are 99 out of 100 that this is the case. And this applies even to young children. You know, we have play therapy techniques so that we can work with youngsters as young as 2 years old. And we find that with the clay and with drawings, that they very graphically describe what's happened to them.
All right, Dr. Giarretto, let's take a break. When we return, we'll be joined by a family that has had to deal with its own case of child molestation. And later we'll talk with the director of a national public action group working to eliminate child abuse.
The new Continental Mark 7. Technology gives the premium automobile a different form than a luxury car. The sleek new Continental Mark 7 moves through the air with remarkable efficiency, reserving power for when you need it. The power of a fuel-injected V8 or European-designed turbo diesel. The new Continental Mark 7. The difference between a luxury car and a premium automobile. Come, drive the difference.
Hi, Window. want to be in my club? Then you gotta call Kraft Macaroni and Cheese Kraft Cheese Macaroni, because it's the cheese sauce that makes it taste so good. Can you do that, Wendell?
Kraft Macaroni and Cheese Dinner, made with genuine Kraft cheddar. What could taste better?
Wendell, you want some more Kraft macaroni and cheese?
Want some more Kraft cheese and macaroni? Wendell, you're in the club.
Kraft Cheese and Macaroni.
Afraid to answer the phone because you know it's bill collectors demanding money? If your bill problems are getting out of hand and you're trying to avoid bankruptcy, call the Debt Relief Legal Clinic. In just one day, you can legally protect your job and credit. Stop creditor harassment, repossessions, wage attachments, lawsuits, and foreclosure. Call the Debt Relief Legal Clinic now for free confidential help and consultation. In San Diego, 238-0400, North County, 941-6000. Remember these numbers for fast legal help.
Every week, over 2,500 cars are sold and purchased in San Diego County between private parties. If you've got to sell a car, had trouble selling a car, or need to buy just the right car, Person-to-Person Auto Market is the place. Just a $20 fee gives you the opportunity to display your car to many shoppers ready to buy. And shoppers you get in free. The Person-to-Person Auto Market this Saturday and every Saturday at the stadium where the Chargers play. See you at Person-to-Person, Saturday, 7 a.m. to 3 p.m.
Joining us now in our Washington Bureau is a family appearing in shadow and under assumed names in order to protect their identities. Anne is 15 years old. Her mother is Janice. Her stepfather is Jim. Anne has been a victim of sexual abuse by her stepfather. The three continue to live as a family today. Janice, I want to go to you. You're the mother.
Yes.
When you first heard the story, you did not believe it. Why not?
I guess because I didn't feel like the man I married could do anything like this to my daughter. I was a victim as myself as a child, and I guess I didn't really want to believe that this could happen to my child.
All right, so in that respect, your reaction seems to have been almost universal. Apparently every mother is unwilling to believe that when she first hears it. What made you believe it?
When my husband went down to the police station, I was still in denial, and I guess what really made me believe it was there was a lady at the police department that talked to me. And when they came out and told me that my husband had finally admitted it, I still didn't want to believe it, but with the lady talking to me there, it finally sunk in that it did happen.
All right, I have a question I want to ask you, and then as soon as you've answered it, I want to ask your daughter. I want to ask Anne. How is it that you can live together? You with this man who was your husband and who obviously betrayed you in a way that must be terribly difficult to understand, and Anne, you with your stepfather. First of all, you, Janice.
I live with it today because I see our family in a different light. We've gone through therapy. We go to Parents United, and through the organization and individual therapy and family therapy, I've seen my husband change. I've seen my family change. The first time this came out with my husband, it wasn't anything like that. There was no family therapy. No one was involved in individual therapy but my husband, and I couldn't look for any change.
And you're what? You're 15 years old now?
Mm-hmm.
That's a heavy load to bear for someone who's 15, but you were bearing the heaviest load of all when you were much younger. How have you been able to, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, forgive, forget, manage to live with it? How would you describe, what's your life like today? What's your family life like today?
It's better and we get along better, and we got help, and that's why I think we're still together.
If the choice had been entirely up to you, and for all I know it was, I don't know, would you have said yes, leave the family together?
Yes, because I knew we would get help just like we have.
Why was that so important to you? In a sense, I would think the last thing you'd want to do would be to see your stepfather again.
Well, I hate him because of what he did, but, you know, I loved him because he was my father, and he is. And I don't consider him my stepfather.
Jim, I must confess, as I said to David earlier in the program, I have the least trouble understanding why you're here tonight. In a sense, you're making good. you're making it possible for other people to understand what this problem is all about. How have you managed, through anything you've done, to bring this family together again?
Well, the difference this time and the first time around, as my wife said, I went to private therapy with a therapist that specialized in individuals such as myself. The wife received individual therapy this time. My daughter received individual therapy, and then this was all through a course of a week, and in the same week we all had family therapy together, and in the same week we attended a Parents United meeting also. So that made a tremendous difference on all of us. There was the help there, the support. It was all there to help us if we wanted it.
Do you understand now, as a result of therapy, what it was that first attracted you to a little girl? I mean, why would you want to have sex with a child? A child, period, but least of all, your own child.
There's not any one exact answer as to why I turned to my daughter. There was a lot of contributing factors that led up to it. One thing with my daughter, a lot of times I would turn to my daughter out of anger with my wife. Like if I would get angry at my wife, I would say, to hell with her, I don't need her, I got my daughter, I can turn to her. Or, you know, if I felt like my wife was rejecting me, I could turn to my daughter, because my daughter wouldn't reject me. She didn't know enough to reject me, because I had conditioned her and programmed her not to reject me, and rejection was one of the contributing factors of my molesting my daughter.
Did it never occur to you that you were inflicting upon her not only a great physical pain, I mean, she was only a little girl at the time, but that there would be great psychic trauma here?
At that time, those thoughts never entered my mind, because I was a very self-centered, egotistical person. The only person's feelings that had any meaning to me was my own feelings. I never looked at my children as individuals. I never looked at my wife as an individual. I looked at them both as my personal property, my personal possessions to do with as I so desired. And that's what I did. I was the dictator in the home, and no one had any say whatsoever in that home but me. I had sole say, and that was over my wife and my daughter. So I was in total control, which of the family, but I had no controls over myself.
Janice, you watched the movie here tonight at ABC. One of the things that struck me about that movie is that everyone was so nice. Everyone, I mean, yes, the father had committed incest, but he seemed like such a nice, reasonable, decent man. The mother, an extraordinary woman. The child. What was that movie realistic to you?
To me, it was very real. It can happen to anyone. You know, I have heard of it coming out with pastors and people in church. Because you go to church doesn't mean it won't happen in that family. It can happen in all walks of life and all types of people. And there's no set limit. There's no controls.
So the man doesn't have to be a brute, and the daughter doesn't have to be Elizabeth Taylor reincarnated, as that one woman put it. It just happens.
Income has nothing to do with it, neither. It hits all social facts of life. High income, low income, middle income, and there's no race involved. It hits all race, creed, and color.
And we were left with the impression, again, in that movie, that somehow, even though there are a lot of problems left at the end, that the solution is relatively easy to find. Is it?
Yes.
Why?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Why? Why is it relatively easy to find a solution? It seems like such a difficult problem, and everyone has so much trouble for the best of reasons. I mean, the most understandable reasons, coming to grips with this problem. Why, once you confront the problem, do you think it's relatively easy to solve it?
Because once you work on it, and you have to have every member of the family to work on it to get it right. And that's what we did, and it helped.
Okay, well, thank you all three very much for joining us, and we'll be coming back and talking to all of our guests in a little while. When we return, We'll be joined in our discussion by the Executive Director of the Committee for the Prevention of Child Abuse. And later, a report on the dropping of child molestation charges today against a man whose stepdaughter refused to testify against him.
Handy Wrap 2 has twice as much cling as old Handy Wrap.
Oh, you ain't got a thing if you ain't got that cling. Giraffe, giraffe, giraffe. Oh, you ain't got a thing if you ain't got that cling. Giraffe, 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 giraffe.
Handy Wrap 2 with Cling Plus has twice as much cling as old Handy Wrap, so it seals tighter to seal in freshness and flavor longer.
Oh, you ain't got a thing if you ain't got that cling.
Handy Wrap 2. You ain't got a thing if you ain't got that cling.
Hey, Bud, you look terrible. Could be the flu. You need the specialist.
The specialist?
The Specialist. Kaopectate. Strong relief for just one problem, diarrhea.
I feel awful, Mom. Could be the flu. I need the specialist.
Kaopectate's the only leading non-prescription medicine created just for diarrhea. It's so effective, it relieves diarrhea within 24 hours.
Taxi!
Kaopectate, the diarrhea specialist.
These days, everyone's got some kind of telephone deal for you. But how can I beat a deal like the AT&T phone right here in my home? Works great, rings true, not a lick of trouble. I called AT&T's toll-free number and found out I don't have to do anything to keep old reliable right here. I can keep on leasing it or buy it. You know, you may already have your hands on the best telephone deal in town.
AT&T, we set the standards.
Grant Beals, owner of Grossmont Optical, invites fashion-conscious people to bring their eye care prescriptions to him. Grossmont Optical carries thousands of quality frames from $5,000 to $2,000, including famous name imports. Grossmont Optical has the most experienced personnel, modern equipment, newest style lenses to serve the entire family. Whether you need contacts, bifocals, sunglasses, regular glasses, binoculars, or optics of any kind, visit Grossmont Optical now in their new location, Fletcher Parkway, near the corner of Jackson.
What goes with the San Diego lifestyle? This Alpha GTV6.
Right now, San Diego Volvo's Alfa Romeo Center makes the GTV6 experience easy. Discover the legendary performance and safety of Road and Track's best GT.
Check these low payments, plus a bonus 5-year, 50,000-mile service contract. Now at San Diego Volvo's Alfa Romeo Center.
If you want to get a pen or pencil and a piece of paper together, at the end of this segment, in a few minutes, 3 or 4 minutes from now, we will give you an address, the address of an organization to which you can write if you want any more information on the subject of child molestation, incest in particular. Joining us now in our Chicago bureau is Dr. Ann Cohn, Executive Director of the National Committee for the Prevention of Child Abuse. Dr. Cohn, I really feel as though, for obvious reasons, as though I'm treading across a minefield here, but is there something that I haven't raised, some important aspect to this national problem that we ought to be talking about?
I certainly think there is. It is a minefield, but we could do a lot of things to create a much better situation if we would focus a lot more of our efforts on prevention, working with children to help them learn how to protect themselves from sexual abuse, providing parents with more information and education so they can reach out for help early on, so that their problems with sexual abuse don't become so acute.
All right. For example, when I looked at that film report that James Walker did earlier, and we see the two teachers play acting in front of a group of, what, 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds, and you see Uncle giving the little girl a kiss on the cheek. Isn't that overly... I mean, is that the kind of thing that's going to prevent incest? Is that the kind of thing that's going to cause a child to say, no, it's not going to happen? And can a child at that age say no?
A lot of our experience suggests that a child at that age can say no, but our experience is still rather young. There are plays, there are movies, there are all kinds of programs for children at the age of 6, 7, and throughout elementary school that are now being, in a way, tested out in schools across the country. There's a tremendous play that was developed in Kansas about a character that comes in from outer space, encased in a bubble, and the bubble's broken, and this character learns about different sensations of touch, good touching and bad touching and forced sexual touching, and learns how to say no, how my body is my own body, it belongs to me, and I can determine who's going to touch it and how they're going to touch it. And if people touch me in ways that I don't like, not only is it okay to say no, but it's really important to reach out for help and tell somebody about it and to not feel guilty about it.
All right, but you heard, for example, what the father in our family of three told us a few moments ago. Certainly the first time around when he was involved in incest, he was, as he just put it, the dictator in his home. He was the boss. He looked upon his wife, he looked upon his daughter as being his property. Now, if a man acts that way and you're dealing with a child, 8 years old, 10 years old, how is that child going to resist?
We don't know how that child's going to be able to resist in every single circumstance, but our sense is that exposing children to information about how to protect themselves can make a difference. At the end of a session of the particular play I described and other kinds of programs, children will invariably come forward and talk to their teachers or talk to other adults in the room about what is going on with them. So even if a particular child is unable to say no to an exceptionally aggressive father, at least many children who are in the early stages of being sexually abused will be able to reach out for help. And there'll be an opportunity to intervene earlier on before the problem becomes terrifically acute.
All right, let me give you what I perceive as perhaps the biggest problem of all. Here is a child which in many cases loves her father or stepfather. The father or stepfather has on many occasions said, look, this is going to be our little secret. Don't tell anyone. Mommy's going to get very angry. It could cause huge problems. You are putting that child in a position where she has to choose frequently between enduring the molestation or creating, and she doesn't quite know where it's going to go, but a huge problem, which can lead, as we've seen, to the courts, right? Can lead to jail, can lead to a family breaking up.
That's right.
How does a child deal with that?
Well, part of the effort of these kind of educational programs for children is to help them understand that if they do reach out for help, things can get better. The act of being victimized by a father, the act of going through that kind of incest is not a particularly pleasant one, and that there is, at the other end of it, some hope for a better situation. Of course it's scary, and of course it's difficult, and of course that kind of education is not going to work for all children. But if we don't start doing it, and don't start doing it in schools across the country, the problems of sexual abuse are going to continue to get more and more acute in this country. We just have to start somewhere.
Dr. Cohen, we focused on Friday, and we're going to have a follow-up report later on this program tonight on a case in which a family, stepfather, wife, daughter, went to counseling under California law. The district attorney had to be told. There was prosecution. The stepdaughter refused to testify. And we find a case where a little girl is thrown into isolation, into a cell for 8 days. Now, how do you resolve that dichotomy? On the one hand, you're telling people you ought to go for counseling. And on the other hand, there is the danger then that the counseling is going to lead to a court confrontation.
Well, I think this particular case is an aberration. That is not typically what happens when a family reaches out for help. And it's a tragedy that that kind of case does happen and then gets enough attention that it probably does frighten a lot of people off from reaching out for help.
All right, tell us what does happen there. What happens most of the time? If a family goes for counseling, is that the ideal solution?
In my opinion, that's the ideal solution. Sometimes it's important to have legal involvement to the point of court involvement and some kind of coercion on the part of the court to get a family into treatment. But most often, if a family is willing to reach out for help, already a first major step has been taken. And the key then is to get that family into treatment, into a Parents United group, and into some kind of individual and family therapy so they can get the help they're seeking. Slapping a child into a juvenile detention facility for contempt of court is certainly not going to help the family. But that is an oddity. That doesn't happen often.
All right, now, a crime has been committed. A father has abused his child. Should that father go to jail? Should that father be punished in some way by society?
I'm sure that you have heard that there's a great diversity of opinion on this. I'll share with you what my particular opinion is. I don't believe that jail is the solution for most of the cases of sexual abuse. The kinds of studies that have been done of sexual abuse treatment programs show that they can be effective. They can be effective as much as 80% of the time. Sometimes we need the courts to say, this parent shall be in treatment, otherwise they will never be able to return home. Sometimes we need that kind of intervention on the part of the courts. But sending a father to jail is rarely the solution of the problem. It may provide some vindication from a point of view of society, but it doesn't necessarily help the family.
I'm going to throw our director a bit of a curve. What I want to do is go back out to San Francisco to Dr. Gioretto, because I suspect that Dr. Gioretto doesn't totally agree, but I'd like to hear what you have to say on the subject of the combination between jail and counseling, or between the court system and counseling? Give me your thoughts on that, would you?
All right, Ted, I've discovered that there is an expiatory factor in most fathers. They must confront the reality that what they've done is absolutely heinous and inexcusable. The threat of jail must be there. I agree with Ann that in most cases people really don't learn, by going to jail. But they do need to feel the hard edge of the law, and we've discovered that the families that are court-ordered to therapy generally will do better than those that are not. I want the fathers to be prosecuted. I want them to realize that what they've done is terrible, but at the same time, we urge the courts not to be unduly punitive. Because, the obvious thing is that if a family discovers that they're going to be fragmented and the father goes to jail and that they're going to lose their homestead, they will not come forward. But there is a fine balance. We get more referrals in the given population than any place in the world. So I'm just saying that by the community working cooperatively, by the police dealing with the child in a gentle way, by getting Parents United involved immediately so that a father talks to another father and the non-offending parent talks to another non-offending parent and the child to another child and Daughters and Sons United, that they can be convinced to cooperate. And we get 90% confession rate here. So that it's unnecessary for the child to go through court. But you do need to have that, in a sense, that sort of Damocles. And it's unfortunate, but this is a way, people still think in terms of sin and redemption.
Dr. Cohen, do you agree?
The key is to get people into treatment. To get them there, they need to either be motivated or they need to be in some fashion coerced. There have been a number of treatment programs that have successfully motivated people to get into treatment without the coercion of the courts. And they've been able, through the success of the therapy process itself, to keep people motivated so they stay there. Now, people who lose motivation are only going to stick around if the courts are requiring that they do so. And so Dr. Giarretto is correct. That kind of court involvement is helpful for some families, but not for all parents, not for all occasions.
All right, doctors, thank you both. We're going to flash on the screen now the address of an organization to which you can write if you want more information on the subject of child abuse in general, incest in particular. The address, as you can see, is National Committee for the Prevention of Child Abuse, Post Office Box 2866, Chicago, Illinois, 60690. Post Office Box 2866, Post Office Box 2866, Chicago, Illinois, 60690. We'll continue our discussion in a moment, and later an update on the story of that 12-year-old California girl we mentioned a moment ago.
If you started out with a little business that just offered savings accounts and mortgages, and then you added such banking services as savings certificates, checking accounts, money market accounts, consumer loans, financial and retirement planning, automated tellers, investment services, direct deposit, and maybe most important of all, U.S. government insured safety, then you'd be giving people the service they've come to expect from us, your nearby federally insured savings institution.
Every day you rush, my lady. Every day you race.
A good night's sleep on Sealy's Best can help you experience your best.
You're pushed, you're pulled, but you do your best, and you do it with such grace.
Because Sealy Posturepedic is uniquely created to give you sheer comfort to ease the day's stress, you'll experience your best after you experience Sealy Posturepedic.
You do your best, and you do it with such grace.
A fine wine is a perfect balancing of taste. So is a fine dinner. Le Menu. Each Le Menu has 3 carefully orchestrated foods, like beef sirloin tips in mushroom and wine gravy, seasoned O'Brien potatoes, and broccoli with cheddar cheese sauce. Le Menu frozen dinners from Swanson. So extraordinary, you dare serve them with a vintage wine.
You can always pick the Serta Perfect Sleeper. She's the one who's awake. Because she slept great on a Serta Perfect Sleeper mattress. You see, only Serta has the total suspension system, a new dimension of total support and comfort. So make a healthy investment in yourself. Be a Serta Perfect Sleeper.
Save $200 to $600 on all Perfect Sleepers, starting at $89.95 each piece twin size. Sleep World Mattress Discounters, downtown and Kearny Mesa.
My assignment? Find out what makes Hills Brothers Instant Coffee taste this great.
The beans.
The answer was out there somewhere. Hills Brothers did it. Made instant coffee so delicious. But how? How did they make it taste this good? The beans. Nice tune. But I got a job to do.
It's the beans that make Hills Brothers Instant taste so good. Regular or decaffeinated.
I'm this close.
We're going to have a final comment or two from all of our guests in just a couple of minutes, but an update now to a story that we covered last Friday. The story, as many of you know, concerned a 12-year-old girl who was locked up in solitary confinement in California's Solano County for a week because she refused to testify against her stepfather. The stepfather was charged with molesting the girl. The case came to light only because the family had sought counseling. After a great deal of public pressure, the girl was released to a foster home on Saturday. Ken Kashiwahara reports on today's developments.
The 12-year-old girl's courtroom ordeal came to an end today after she again refused to testify against her stepfather, a medical doctor who was charged with sexually fondling her. Saying it was obvious that further confining the girl was not going to change her mind, the judge ordered the entire case dismissed. The prosecutor said without her testimony, he had no case. In a statement, the judge claimed he had been unfairly castigated by the media, which had focused on his order confining a 12-year-old for refusing to testify. On Nightline last Friday, prosecutor Kenneth Coburn defended the action.
Essentially, I'd make an analogy. She's been sent to her room until she does what society
No, I don't accept that. I'm sorry. She has not been sent to a room. She has been sent to a cell in a prison.
Today, both the judge and the prosecutor said that they were simply upholding the law, that dismissing the case means a confessed child molester goes unpunished. Apparently angered by the outcome, the girl's natural father confronted her stepfather outside the courtroom and attacked him. Later, the stepfather questioned the effect of the law, which required that he be reported to authorities when he sought counseling.
I think it focuses attention that the law may not be serving the purpose it may have meant to serve.
The girl's mother, too, worries about the legal ordeal's effect on her daughter.
I just hope it just doesn't cause a lot of devastation.
Tonight, the 12-year-old girl is still confined to a foster family home. Tomorrow, another court will decide where she will live. But the debate over what the law has done to her and not done to her stepfather will continue for a long time to come. This is Ken Kashiwahara for Nightline.
Let me caution our affiliates down the line that we're going to run a little bit over tonight. We'll be back with all of our guests in a moment.
It's coming! It's coming!
Oh, boy! What's coming?
More butter, Sprout.
More? What's it for?
The Giant's new butter sauce.
New butter sauce?
That's right. The Giant's added even more butter to his special butter sauce. So now his sweet and tender Niblets corn has even more buttery good flavor. What do you say to that, Sprout?
That Giant's sure on the right track.
Ho, ho, ho.
Green Giant.
You are looking at the world's most advanced nasal spray. It's 12-hour Nostrilla. University tests prove Nostrilla's unique pump makes it the first nasal spray that prevents drawback of common cold nasal fluids. Nostrilla prevents uncontrolled dosage. Nostrilla helps prevent uneven penetration. And Nostrilla gives you the strongest medication available without a prescription. Remember, only 12-hour Nostrilla prevents drawback of common cold nasal fluids. No wonder it's the world's most advanced nasal spray.
Never thought my baby daughter would become a lawyer.
Oh, Dad, you always said I could do anything.
Well, I said it, but you actually did it.
Let's have some coffee.
Only half a cup.
But you love fresh brewed coffee.
Yes, but the caffeine.
Look.
Brim decaffeinated coffee?
Uh-huh.
taste this rich, fill it to the rim.
Fill your cup to the rim with the richness of Brim.
Sunshine, San Diego, and Alpha Spider. Right now, San Diego Volvo's Alfa Romeo Center makes owning a Spider easy. Discover the fun and excitement built into this Italian sports legend. Check these low payments, plus a bonus 5-year, 50,000-mile service contract. Now at San Diego Volvo's Alfa Romeo Center.
Most people know that Jerome's has the largest selection of upholstery, bedroom, and dining furniture. But for bookcases, wall units, or entertainment centers, they think they have to go to a specialty store to get any kind of a selection. Jerome's has a larger selection of these same items than any other furniture store in San Diego, and not at specialty store prices. For bookcases, wall units, or home entertainment centers, you'll find the best selection at Jerome's, not at specialty store prices, but at Jerome's guaranteed lowest, no glitter price.
Again, a warning to our affiliates, we are going to run just a few minutes over tonight. With us again now from the Parents Anonymous Helpline Center in Atlanta, Janet Holman, coordinator of the center's Incest Project and 24-hour hotline. At 11 o'clock this evening, right after the movie went off the air, you turned your phones on. What kinds of calls have you been getting? What was the reaction to the movie? I mean, for years now, television has been concerned whether this was the kind of subject that could be handled on television. Obviously, it could be. It was. In my opinion, it was handled very sensitively, but what's the public's reaction to it?
The lines are still busy. Each one is being used. And the primary response has been a very positive one. The largest percentage of callers are female incest victims, women that have survived that traumatic experience of childhood. And their response to the movie has been that they identified very clearly with Amelia's problems and the dynamics in the family. So the film has been a vehicle for community education here.
And is it necessary? Well, of course it's necessary. I suppose it's a stupid question. Why is it so important, though, that people know that they are not alone, that this has happened to many others?
I think that dynamic of feeling that this has never happened to any other person is one of the most important reasons that keep incest survivors from sharing their story. As it was mentioned before, there is a true conspiracy of silence, and it is a terrible secret. One of our callers was a woman who was 43 years old that had left her home when she was 15 and had been involved in a relationship with her father for 10 years and had never mentioned this or shared this fact with anyone. And I think just having the ability to verbalize it and having someone on the other end of the line who understands is a very powerful and therapeutic thing in itself.
Now, this 43-year-old woman, for example, presumably now has a family of her own. It must be excruciatingly difficult to share that with your husband, to share that with your children.
Oh, clearly. And this woman had not opted to do that.
But, well, I guess what I'm asking, Janet, is should it be shared, or is that the kind of thing that this woman and others like her should not keep to themselves, but share only with a professional counselor or a therapist?
Well, I think initially, and this is a generalization, but I think initially a survivor will find that it is more helpful and beneficial if she will reach out to a support group, to a survivors group. Then through that support, she can find the strength and the self-confidence to quit blaming herself and realize that she is an innocent victim, and coming from that base, then she will have the courage to tell her husband and to tell her children.
Let me jump out to Chicago to Dr. Ann Cohn. Let's pick up just on that theme for a moment. It's a very difficult thing for a husband then. I mean, here's a family. There's nothing untoward going on in this family. There is no incest in this family, and the husband is suddenly told by his wife, the children are suddenly told by their mother, you know, 30 years ago, I was the victim of incest. How do they handle it?
It's tough for them to handle it, but it may help them understand a lot of behaviors that have been going on in the family. When incest occurs, it takes its toll on a person. When it's kept a secret for that many years, it festers and it creates all kinds of barriers for a person in terms of living their life in the fullest possible way. So when a person comes forward and has the courage to talk about it, it may help explain to other members of the family a lot of things that have been going on.
David, you committed incest against your daughter. You are now divorced from your wife. I said at the beginning you still have contact with your family. What is that contact like? What does it involve?
It involves a different type of contact than before. Ted Dancing mentioned in an interview earlier this week the parent-child relationship is vaporized. And that's basically what has happened. It has gotten better with my children and myself than what it was before in a more productive way, but it can never be what it could have been. The contact I have with my ex-wife is minimal. She still has quite a bit of rage and anger about that, which she has the right for that. And but I try to do what I can when they allow that.
What kind of a life do you have now? If you, I don't know, maybe you have, if you met another woman, wanted to get married again, would you have the courage to tell her?
I have discussed this with several females that I've been involved with. One was victimized and could relate to the victimization of what my daughter went through. The other one couldn't. Said that she wasn't victimized sexually. Knowing some of the family atmosphere that she was brought up in, it still had its effects on her. And she was kind of understanding as much as she could be. I don't expect anyone or anyone, I guess, to really understand it unless they've been through it.
David, sum it up for us, would you? I'm going to ask Jim and Janice and Ann to do the same thing in a moment. We, I guess nationally, have been through kind of an emotional experience tonight, first with the movie and now with this discussion. What's the value of it from your vantage point?
The value of
bringing it all out. Here's something we haven't talked about, really, ever, as a nation. And, I mean, there have been magazine articles about it, there have been newspaper articles about it, but in this medium that comes into the home, we have kind of steered clear of it. We haven't touched it. Well, now tonight we have. And what do you think the value of it has been?
I think tonight has been very valuable to a lot of people. It gives them the ability, or it gives them a chance, a place to where they can reach out for the help that's there. I was victimized as a child. My dad was victimized. My wife was victimized. Both my children were. And it keeps going on and on. And hopefully the younger a person can be to reach out, the earlier they'll get help, the earlier they'll start being able to say no and stand up for their rights and defend themselves, their body, and everything as to who touches it and who doesn't. Possibly down the road, this incest can be, I don't know if it can ever be erased, but it can be minimized one heck of a lot.
Let me just ask you, because it's the first time I've heard it. You said not only your father, your grandfather, but your wife had also been victimized. When did you find out? When did you know that? Did you know that during the good part of your marriage, when you were still communicating with one another?
Oh yeah, early in the marriage I found this out.
Did you ever tell her that it had happened to you too?
Oh yes, about the same time, I guess.
But never mentioned anything, well, I guess it's ridiculous to suggest that you would mention anything about your relationship with your daughter, but when your daughter mentioned to your wife that you had been having sex, did your wife believe it?
I think she was caught right in the middle, like most wives are. They don't know which one to believe. They love both. It's such a horrible thing and a disastrous thing that could possibly happen, because society really doesn't believe that it goes on. And they don't know anyone that it has happened to, except maybe their own self, and they try to deny that.
Jim, Janice, Ann, I'd like to get a final thought from each of you. Janice, again, I'm wondering, was it right all these years for us to have kept this subject in the closet? Did that make it more difficult for you?
A lot more difficult, because if there had been the help when I was a child that I have today, maybe I wouldn't have lived the life I lived and gone to prison and used my body for a lot of other things other than what it was meant for. And I wanted to comment on children can say no, because I have a younger daughter who is 10, and she did say no when my husband attempted it on her, and it stopped him. So they can be taught to say no, and they can say no, and it will stop. But if it doesn't stop, I just want everyone out there to know that don't let it end there. Take it further. Keep going to someone until they believe you, because you know in yourself you're telling the truth, and it needs to be stopped.
And a tough question. If there had been a movie like this 3 years ago, 4 years ago, and you had seen it, would that have made it easier for you? Would you then have learned from that and possibly gone to a counselor, or would that have just frightened you a little?
It would have been easier for me, because then I would know there would have been somebody out there that I could, reach out to instead of one of my friends, because, it was hard for my mom to accept why I didn't come to her instead of going to a friend.
Jim, any closing thoughts?
Yeah, the only thing I can say is God bless somebody like Hank Gioretta for starting Parents United. I just wish that in my area in Virginia that we'd have had a Parents United the first time around my incest come out with my daughter, which we didn't have, and I went through 2 years of so-called therapy and so-called probation, and 2 months back home was back into it, but this time with the right kind of therapy and an organization such as Parents United, it has made me a totally different person from what I was 2.5 years ago. And without Parents United, this would not have been possible. And I just wonder why all the Parents United chapters, the biggest majority of them are on the West Coast, why is the East Coast so far behind? Is it the society on the East Coast is afraid to look at Parents United, because if they do, then they're going to have to admit that there is such a thing as incest?
Dr. Gioretta, let's leave that rhetorical question unanswered for the moment, but maybe it's appropriate that you summarize this discussion and this experience for us. Your closing thoughts, please.
Well, I think that this program is invaluable, when letting people know that the incidence of incest is very high, and I personally am is like I've suddenly hit an oasis, because for 14 years, I've been trying to drum up some interest. And there has been some media attention, but not on the scale as this is. And I want to, concur with the rest of the, so-called experts that the family must come forward. I strongly agree with adults that adults molested children must discuss it with their spouses. And as a matter of fact, those that come to us, and we, as I say, we treated about 200 of them. We encourage them to bring their husbands, and later on we try to get even the offending parent and his spouse to come. So the exposure is very important, but there must be treatment programs, and the treatment programs must be complete. The Parents United is a very important part, but it's not sufficient. Every Parents United chapter has professionals associated with it that also provide individual family therapy. The film oversimplified that. In a case like the Danton, we probably would be working with that family for at least 2 years before we would even think that the man can be returned to the home. The child has to feel not only physically safe, but psychologically safe. And there are no miracles, Ted. It's a slow process, and all members of the family have to be examined very carefully, always with the idea, is this the very best situation for the child?
All right. My thanks to all of you. It goes without saying, a very difficult subject. Let us hope that now that we have begun talking about it, that we can continue to do so periodically, and always with an eye toward helping. It's an enormously difficult problem, and as we've now heard, a national one. Thank you all very much for joining us. I'll be back in a moment.
January furniture blowout. BJ Furniture Brokers are clearing out all floor models at fantastic prices. This is your chance to save hundreds of dollars on quality furniture. Example, this French provincial bedroom set now only $4.99. Or this high-back contemporary sofa, only $3.88. If ever there was a time to save money on quality furniture, that time is now. Hurry to BJ Furniture Brokers and save. 2 big BJ locations, San Diego and Chula Vista.
We want to give you that address just one more time, to which you can write if you want help on the subject or just some information on it. National Committee for the Prevention of Child Abuse, Post Office Box 2866, Chicago, Illinois, 60690. Tomorrow on World News Tonight, an interview by Peter Jennings of Democratic presidential candidate Senator Ernest Hollings of South Carolina. That's our report for tonight. I'm Ted Koppel in Washington. For all of us here at ABC News, good night.
This has been ABC News Nightline. For those of you who wish to obtain a transcript of tonight's broadcast, send $2 to Journal Graphics, Box 234, Ansonia Station, New York, New York, 10023. Nightline is a presentation of ABC News.
Don Rickles and Steve Lawrence swing into action for the hilarious premiere of a new weekly series of Foul-Ups, Bleeps,
uh-oh, there goes my...
and Blunders. But they'll do it till they get it right on the premiere of Foul-Ups, Bleeps, and Blunders tomorrow.
Uh-oh, better get Mako. 10 pounds of sirloin. That's how much meat protein's in this bag of Alamo brand dog food, so there's no need to add meat to Alamo.
Susan Farrell and Jack White host the 21.5-hour United Cerebral Palsy Telethon beginning 7:30, Saturday, January 14th on Channel 10. MAC Project helps the needy with energy conservation.
Twilight Zone, the court case opens in Los Angeles.
Rock and roll at Public Theater in New York.
If we did a movie, it could be The Big Chill meets The Blues Brothers.
If it runs on electricity, it spent the weekend in Las Vegas.
A celebration for Martin Luther King Jr. in Washington, D.C.
This is a very good beginning of one of the ways in which we can celebrate.